What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Part-Time Watchers podcast with Keith and Lorcan, talking about everything in the world of pop culture, entertainment, movie news, TV shows, video games, comic books, you name it. And you know what? We might talk about it part-time. We're back again to talk about loads and loads of news in the world of movies and the DCEU in particular. DC and Warner Brothers and AT&T that own Warner Brothers, they just seem to be dropping news. This is kind of like The Mandalorian has had casting news every week for the last month. It's like every time we do a podcast now, we have more news on the DCU and all the movies that are coming. So the latest news, which dropped, I think was at the beginning of the week, was that Henry Cavill is in talks officially to come back and play Superman again. But for now, the official line is from like Variety and the guys that are reporting on it and Deadline. The official call is that he's in talks to come back, but not for a Man of Steel sequel, not for Superman 2. Supposedly that movie is not in development at the moment, which is absolutely a lie, but that's what they're saying. And supposedly he's gearing up to come back to play Superman in other films, so potentially Shazam 2, maybe Black Adam, though I think someone has said that that's not happening. Maybe Aquaman 2, maybe Wonder Woman 2. Well, not Wonder Woman 2 because that's already in the can. But future films, supposedly he's more than likely Shazam 2, I would see, after the cameo at the end of it that didn't actually include Henry Cavill. And then there's more news on it that we'll get into in a second. But in general, Lorcan, Henry Cavill is officially signing on to come back, officially in talks to come back. How excited are you about the fact that we're getting him back again?
I'm actually pretty excited. I think AT&T listened to our podcast because I feel like last week it was like, do you think this guy's coming back and this guy's come back? And me going like, probably, but like, probably not. But it seems like way more concrete. Correct me if I'm wrong, but was Cavill ever 100% ruled out? Like, was it official that he was gone, or was it just the case that it was like an open secret that everyone knew that, after the development of the Justice League and all the kind of shenanigans that happened there with the mustache and everything else that happened, and I suppose that movie bombed at the time, it felt like they were going to take a new direction and Henry Cavill wasn't going to be part of it. I don't think it was ever officially announced that he was going to be off projects. So it just seems like they've taken a hiatus now, and then he's like, oh yeah, I'm totally back for everything moving forward. So I don't think there was ever an official announcement, was there?
Yeah, so there was never an official announcement, but what happened originally was like Variety, Deadline, like the big trades that know what they're talking about, they came out to report that basically Warner Brothers weren't moving forward with Superman in the DCU, at least for the time being. So essentially what that meant was that they weren't planning any Superman sequel, which we knew about. They weren't going to have him show up in other movies, and they were basically going to start taking the individual film route where every character just went off and done their own thing, and there wasn't crossover, and they just weren't focusing on Superman. So what that kind of brought up was everybody saying, oh, well, they're going to get rid of Henry Cavill, and whenever they do develop a Superman movie, could be years from now, and sure, Henry Cavill probably won't be back. And he never officially, he basically came out and he was saying like, look, I'm there if they want me, and if they want to come back, I'd love to play the character again. But even he was like, yeah, there's nothing in development. There doesn't seem to be anything happening. So I'm here and I'm ready to go, but there just doesn't seem to be anything. And like the talk was that they basically weren't developing Superman. So it seems like exactly what you're saying. It seems like they've just decided now, okay, we're going to start going back to the Superman character. And like, why would you get someone else? Why,
yeah, and I think he's probably tied on for like a deal anyway for a period of time. And he probably had maybe like 2 movies or 3 more movies in him at this kind of deal where now he's hot property because of The Witcher and a couple of other things again, where they're like, we'd be stupid not to take him back on after all this and try and recast and potentially have to pay someone a lot more money for a character we already have that's established inside the universe. Like it seems like a no-brainer, to be honest with you. And I'm personally excited to have him back. I think he's one of the better Supermen that we've had, probably one of the best, I'd say.
Yeah.
So like I'm super duper excited to have him back, and as long as he's happy in the role, because I feel like that's a key thing. I felt like he was happy in Man of Steel 1, and he was happy doing The Witcher, and like his performances are better in that. So maybe if he comes back to this and he feels like the fans really want him there, like it could be really good. And then just a different director. I'd love to see what this Superman looks like when Snyder doing it, just to see what.
Yeah, and even like there's an interview with Henry Cavill, and this is the thing I love about him. Like he's clearly in love with the role, and he clearly wants to do well in it. And there's an interview after the whole thing came out that he like wasn't going to be coming back, or they weren't developing any Superman stories. Where someone, I can't remember what who it was that was interviewing him, but someone asked him like would he like to come back, and even he was like, yeah, well, I'd love to just do a straight up sequel to Man of Steel, because
Mm,
at the end of Man of Steel, we kind of seen where he was, and we seen him as a character, and like we've never followed his story. We followed a story with Superman in it and Batman v Superman and everything, but it's
mm,
like you didn't really follow up on just like getting Superman as Superman in Metropolis doing his thing. You kind of got
yeah.
this like weird God complex, like super or Justice League take on it, and all the other stuff going on. Whereas you never just followed Clark and the characters that we've seen from Man of Steel,
Mhm.
like go on to do what we've seen, more like faithful to how he is in the comics. We've never seen that with this version of it. It was like Man of Steel set that up, and then everything just took a crazy nosedive into a different direction.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's what I would love to
it's
see.
kind of the flaw with Superman, and I suppose the comics have done a really good job of it in the past as well. But if you include Superman in a story, the level of villain needs to be so much
Mm,
bigger, and the level of threat needs to be so much bigger. I know a Lex Luthor story could have been a perfect kind of sequel to that because it's grounded in a universe where like a Batman can be there and not have to worry about taking on like parademons or like
yeah,
a giant squid from another dimension or something along those lines. It just made more sense, I suppose. But yeah, like I don't think the writing or the drive was there at the time, and they were
yeah,
on about pushing for Justice League and for this big collective universe that they did just kind of drop the ball with that. So I definitely take up a straight up sequel to it, but I think unfortunately so much has happened. Like so, unless they kind of forget Batman versus Superman and Justice League, so much has happened in the fact that he's died, come back, has been evil, fought all these things in Steppenwolf, and Darkseid just appears there, that it's going to be very hard to go back to just a direct sequel, I think,
yeah.
to a Man of Steel, just without upping the odds back again. But I suppose if you got like a really good Lex Luthor and you came up with a really good story that kind of grounded it, it didn't have to be, a giant god level or a mega level villain. It could work
Mm.
pretty well. But yeah, like a good writer would need to come in there and really kind of, I suppose, put the brakes on things in a way that doesn't seem like it's just forgetting everything that happened, I suppose, in the previous movies.
To be honest, I would nearly take that route of it, because like
Just
I don't
forget.
know. Obviously, we don't know how Justice League is going to end with the Zack Snyder cut, but like the end of Justice League, the film that was released, basically just forgot about everything, because it
Yeah.
was like, hey, look, he's Clark Kent again, and he's working at the Daily Planet, and he's walking out in a suit, and then he's opening his shirt, and he's Superman. He flies into the sky, and
Yeah.
everybody's back to normal. It's like the end of that movie basically was just like, oh, remember that time you died? Yeah, forget about that. Remember the fact that Clark Kent died at the same time, and now he came back to life the same time you came back to life? Yeah, just
Yeah.
totally forget about that. Go back to your normal job. Go back to the whole like Clark Kent works for the Daily Bugle or the Daily
Yeah.
Planet. Like just go back to normal, and then let's just say in the next movie, all of this is just a weird dream. you know?
The
So I would
investigative
totally be on board with
reporters,
it.
the investigative, all the like really in depth reporters at the Daily Planet are like the worst because like
Oh, the worst.
flags, easy red flags, and it's just like, how come Lois Lane is always getting like saved? Where's Clark all the time with this? That no one's kind of like thinking like what, but
yeah.
no, best.
And yeah, now following up on the whole story of, so obviously now we know this week is, it's like we said, it's been confirmed by the trades that Henry Cavill is in talks to come back and fulfill the Superman role again in like Shazam 2, inside movies, but not in Man of Steel 2. But this week, John Campea, so he's a movie pundit based over in LA. He's got connected well. He knows a lot of people that work for like the studios and stuff. And he ran a story on his show. Now he just has his own YouTube show, so he's not like a Variety, he's not Deadline, he's not one of the big trades where it's all official what he says. And he even said himself, he's like, this is a story that I've been told from someone that works close to the productions, but he's like, this is not something that you should run with as news. Now we're not a news site; we're just talking about it because we like to talk shit. So we're
Pure
going to talk about it.
speculation.
Yeah, exactly. We just like to speculate about these things. We probably would be speculating about this whether or not he said this as well.
Oh, totally.
But so what he said, so Campea has spoke to two people that are involved with WB, and one of these guys was the guy that told him 2 years before Ben Affleck finished as Batman that Ben Affleck was finished as Batman. So there was rumors about that for years, whether or not he was going to continue or whatever. And Campea was saying it for about 2 years. He's not. And then officially Ben Affleck came out and said it. So we know whoever his source is has a bit of clarity to them, has a bit of background that they kind of know this stuff. And what he has said is that we know this year Warner Brothers and JJ Abrams have signed on to work together. So JJ Abrams' Bad Robot Company, obviously JJ Abrams had done like the new Star Wars movies, the new Star Trek movies, lost loads and loads of stuff like that. And JJ Abrams, who also wrote a Superman script back in like 2002 before Superman Returns, that never got made. So he has said, the two guys that Campia spoke to have said that it is kind of quote unquote official in the background of WB. They just haven't announced it yet, that JJ Abrams is working on whatever the next Superman project is going to be. So whatever the next Superman movie is going to be. Now it says he's working on it and his company's working on it. So whether or not he's going to direct it, whether he's going to be producing it, whether he's going to be writer, we don't know. But I can't imagine that JJ Abrams is going to produce a Superman film and not write and direct it if he gets the opportunity. Like, this seems like the kind of thing he would be watering at the mouth to do. So I would imagine if he's involved, he's probably going to be directing it or just heavily involved in it if he is working on it. And of the two sources that Campia spoke to, one of them said that they're not sure if it's going to be Cavill or not, or if they're going to get a new Superman, similar to what they've done with like the Batman recasting it. While the other source has said 100% it's definitely Cavill. Like, he signed on to come back for these movies, so of course they've signed him on to say like, hey, we're also going to be developing a Superman movie and we want you in it. So it's 50-50 on the two sources that he spoke to whether or not it's going to be Cavill, but like, it just totally makes sense if they're getting him back in to cameo in other movies and they're developing a Superman movie at the same time. It would be kind of ridiculous to, like, at this, like right now, it would be ridiculous to develop a Superman movie without Henry Cavill.
I also think Abrams is just a perfect choice for this, because like, if you think about directors to take over, like JJ Abrams has really good visual flair in the same way that Schneider had as well, but he's also a really good story director too. He's really good at adapting things, like I suppose taking an idea and bringing it to screen. He's not very good at tying things up, but like, again, that's never been his strong point. But like, I suppose if you were to pick an iconic story and bring that to life, I think he could do that in a really good way. He could definitely, I suppose he's a good middle ground director. Like, he's definitely like a Spielberg, where I think he'll make something that won't be the biggest masterpiece, or it won't be so far outside the line that people will be talking about for years by saying that this was such a, I suppose, a miracle of storytelling and they took a big risk. Not a big risk taker, but what he will do is probably bring the character back to a point where the average audience are excited to see a Superman movie again. So like, I suppose at this minute in time, I don't think anyone is as excited about a Superman movie, bar myself and yourself and a handful after being burnt for a while. And even then, I'm not massively excited, I suppose. I think it's just yourself in that camp, Keith. But I think, I do think he has a good kind of flair and good, like, I suppose, track record of like bringing these things back to like the public consciousness in a really good, positive way for someone else to potentially, I suppose, make it better moving forward. So I think he's a really good one to get in on as well. And he's supposed to be a good director to work under. So I reckon Cavill would have a good time working kind of side by side with him on this. And yeah, like, I think, doesn't JJ with Bad Robot have a deal now with Warner Brothers as part of them essentially being bought by them? I think he has a directorial deal, doesn't he, where he has to direct, was it like 4 Warner Brother movies or something along those lines as part of that deal? Or was that just, again, conjecture or speculation, again, that I thought as part of that deal, he was signed on to direct, I think it was 4 properties for Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that he, like, it, I don't know if they had like a specific number, but like, he's definitely something. I remember at the time there was something along the lines that he's at least developing within the DC universe. So we know he's developing the Justice League Dark script for a series on HBO Max, and he's producing another show there called Strange Adventures, I think it is, where it's like one-off anthology episodes based around characters within the DC universe kind of thing. So he's already, his company's already developing those 2 scripts, and I think there was something along the lines, I can't remember the number, but there was definitely something along the lines that he will hands-on direct feature films as well for them, and it just makes sense. Like, if he's going to come in, if you're going to get someone like JJ Abrams to come in, like put it this way, if let him start it and then get him away from it, because look what he done with Star Wars and with Star Trek. Like, he rebooted Star Trek. Everybody loved that first Star Trek film. You know, it was a bit too much for like OG Star Trek fans. Sure, it was a bit too over the top, but like the majority of like general public loved that first one. That's what got people back into Star Trek, you know.
Same with Star Wars as well.
Exact same thing. You know, The Force Awakens, everyone loved it. That movie made so much money. Sure, it was a bit of a rehash of A New Hope, but like, it got people reinvested in Star Wars again. And had he just tipped on and stopped doing Star Wars at that point, he'd be considered this like God man, where it's like, anytime you have a new universe, bring him in, let him start it, and then get him away from it. Because unfortunately, what's happened with both Star Trek and Star Wars is that he's come back and people haven't been a fan of what he's done afterwards. So take him in. I think this is like, he's a guy that's got huge geek cred. He's already wrote a Superman script in the past. Bring him in, let him get the wheels turning and start it kind of like, it's not a reboot, but it's going to be kind of like a soft reboot sequel. Let him do that and then reboot this whole Superman kind of franchise and world and universe, and then get him out of there. Let someone else continue the story on, you know?
So, Keith, what
I
you're saying is less mother boxers and more mystery boxes. Is that what you're saying?
No, give us all the mystery boxes. Let him set them up. Just don't let him open the mystery box. Let someone else open the mystery box in a future film. Let him set it up. But like that's I've been, like, we all know, anyone that listens to the podcast knows how big a fan I am of Henry Cavill and of Superman and of Man of Steel. So I think it's perfect that you get away from Zack Snyder, because similar to him, like, he set up Man of Steel, I think, great, but he just went off the rails himself a little bit afterwards. So having him back, like, personally, I'm thinking, like, I remember thinking of a couple of directors I'd love to see come in to do it, and someone like JJ is exactly who I'm thinking of, because you know he's not going to have trouble on set. He's going to come in, he's going to run a good set, people are going to love him, the cast are going to love him, he's going to get a good story going, get it off the ground, get it started. And just like, I couldn't be happier, because there's no way, like, I know we're talking about Campia has those two sources, there's no way JJ is creating a Superman film now and it's not going to be Henry Cavill coming back in. Like, I'd just be shocked. Like, Superman is notoriously a difficult person to cast, like, character to cast. And like, you've got a beautiful, chiseled, great actor in the role that already like embodies Superman once you give him the script.
And he's charismatic. Like, he physically looks the role, but if you see him in other roles, he has a real charm about him in the kind of Superman way. So he can definitely play a really good Clark Kent, which hasn't really been explored in any of the films so far. Like, he's been a little bit too kind of gritty and upset and breaking lorries over like stuff for people shouting at him for being mean. But like, I think like a charisma could work with this as well. I think JJ Abrams, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I don't think there's another director I'd rather start off the franchise with, to set a good tone for a couple other people to kind of, I suppose, bring that tone to another level, to start taking a few risks. But first, there just needs to be some sort of foundation set. JJ Abrams is perfect for that. Perfect.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, hopefully, God only knows how long it'll be before anything official is announced, and whether or not that even is true. Like we said, it's just coming from two sources that Campia has. Even he said he's not sure if it's true. So hopefully it is, and hopefully it does happen. And we find out about it pretty soon.
Sweet.
Moving on now to another amazing director, but someone that is in the last couple of years had a bit of issue with getting movies made. So Scorsese, Martin Scorsese, he's been working on his next film. Crazy Scorsese, yeah. He's been working on his next film, Killers of the Flower Moon, which is going to star DiCaprio and De Niro. So this is basically, we talked about The Irishman being like his kind of like classic movie, like classic Scorsese. This is just another version of that with two of his favorite actors and himself working on it.
Like literally two generations of Scorsese, the early day De Niro and now the later day DiCaprio. So like, have they ever done a Scorsese film together? I don't think they have.
I don't know if they've been in a Scorsese film together. They've definitely worked together, though.
Yeah. Was De Niro in The Departed? I don't think he was he? Maybe.
No, I don't think so.
No, because I feel like that was the one that they potentially could have had crossover in, because I know the wasn't in any of the mobster ones. But great. Exciting.
Yeah, we talked about this ages ago, where he was trying to get the movie off the ground. So now he has finally got it off the ground. But the only way he could was to go to another streaming service, because movie studios are like, your movie's not going to make the money that you need to make it, because he wants about $200 million again. For what? Who the hell knows? Who knows?
The aging effects. He wants to age down De Niro and age up DiCaprio. Versions of themselves.
So what's happened now with this film is that Apple have come in. So Apple have their streaming service, Apple Plus. Is it Apple Plus or whatever the hell it's called?
Something. Apple, no one has bought it.
Exactly, yeah. But so Paramount were originally going to produce the film, but instead now they're just going to get a little bit of the money for going to cinema. So I think what's happening is that the film is going to be in cinemas for a short amount of time, similar to The Irishman, and then it will head on over to Apple Plus TV. So this is going to be Apple Plus, whatever the hell it's called. But this is a huge get for Apple, because this is kind of like when Netflix started trying to get like legitimate movies on their service. And we know Apple have like all the money in the world, so they can spend whatever. But supposedly they're funding the whole thing, so about $200 million to make this film. And it's going to be exclusive onto their streaming service. So if you want to see this movie, you potentially might see it in a cinema, but they probably won't be in the major ones all around. So you might see it somewhere. But if not, you'll have to get Apple Plus TV. But It's
Yeah.
it's mad kind of seeing, like, now it's kind of getting to the stage where all the streaming services are pitching in the money for movies that studios won't make anymore.
Mm.
So this is just happening again. Obviously, we see Netflix do it with The Irishman, and now Apple are doing it. So Scorsese can keep giving out about how cinema's changed, but yet he's the one that keeps going to the streaming services to get his movies made. So
Yeah, and like
yeah,
I think it is because he's becoming more outlandish. Like, to get those stars in to do the budget of movie he wants, and he probably wants to do another like 4 or 5 hour long movie or something along those lines. So
yeah,
it's just not viable for a studio to take that on, and he'll complain about it for a bit and then just jump over to somewhere like a streaming platform that can do that. So he's definitely one of like the directors who I suppose, who are doing this more than anyone else. And he's probably doing it out of necessity. But again, for someone who complains about the changing face of cinema, he's definitely one of the leaders in the changing face of cinema, which is
yeah.
a big ironic part to all this as well. But like, listen, I'm excited about it as well. Like, it sounds like a really good property. I'm a big fan of Scorsese. Like, I like to give out about him, but anytime he does a film, like, I'm always engrossed. I don't think he's ever really made a bad film. And like, some of his better films are probably up there in my top 10 favorites of all time. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm super excited to see anything to do with Scorsese, and he's getting on in years. So I don't think he has too many more projects left in him. So maybe two more. And like, not to sound grim or anything, like, I don't think the next couple of years, but he's not going to be able to direct these giant films when he's in his late 80s, 90s. So
Yeah.
I
Um,
enjoy it now while we can get it.
yeah, absolutely. Cool. And then moving on to another film that's been in development for, Jesus, this film's been in development for a while now. But it was officially confirmed this week that James Mangold, director of Logan and director of Ford v Ferrari and loads of other great
Mm.
movies, but it seems like he's going to be signed on. I think he's in talks at the minute, quote unquote in talks. But he looks like he's going to be signed on to direct Indiana Jones 5. So
Nice.
Spielberg is officially stepping down from the role of directing, probably because he's just fucking sick of it. And the development hell this movie has been in. This movie was meant to come out, I think, in 2018, and then it was pushed to 2019, and now I don't even know if it has a release date. I think it's meant to be released in like 2021 or 2022, but like, even at that, they got to get this is the first sign of like
Mm.
actual proper, like a new kind of like the wheels turning again, is
Yeah.
getting on someone like Mangold. And like Mangold is a fantastic director. If
Yeah.
they're going to do an Indiana Jones 5 that's got an older indie and they're not going to reboot it, like I think they
Yeah.
should, if they're going to go that route. I mean, you couldn't get someone better than the guy who's directed Logan and kind of
Yeah.
retired the Wolverine character, essentially, who's been
Yeah,
gone for
well,
20 years.
see, that's a great point. So it depends on what this movie's trying to do. If this movie's trying to reboot or re-kick the energy for an indie, like a brand new indie universe, and him almost passing the torch, then James Mangold is not the director to do it. But if you're planning to just go, listen, I want to finish this story, we can reboot it in another 10 years, but I want to finish the story of Indy where he's old, he's doing it, it's a bit more grizzled, it doesn't have the same tone, then take a James Mangold on, who's an excellent director, and he'll end it like the way he done it with Logan, like, to take that character and bring it to its natural conclusion. I think he'll do a fantastic job of that. But I suppose if we were trying to think about if they're trying to almost keep the same energy as the older movies, but introduce it to a new audience, like we mentioned before, I think a JJ Abrams would have been a good choice for that then as well. And you get a charismatic young character that people are going to like. He's not going to take, I suppose, take the energy away from an older indie, but be able to carry it moving forward. So again, it completely depends on what the studio are trying to do with this, because if they're trying to launch something again off the back of this, I don't think this is the direction to go personally.
Yeah.
But again, I love this because I think indie needs a conclusion, because that story isn't like, it's not unique. Like basically Uncharted is Indiana Jones, but no one ever really kind of hammers home the direct comparisons between those, I don't feel, really. And it's the same with Tomb Raider as well. They're basically a form of Indiana Jones films. So like, I reckon that concept could be done under a new property with a fresh take that's not hindered by the past. So I'd love Mangold to just do a Logan on this, make it a bit more gritty, I think, and just go hard and give him a debt or something like that. It'd be great.
That's what I'm just thinking. Like, I wonder, will he kill Indy? Will he kill him off in
I hope so.
and kind of retire the character as like in the story? It'd be interesting to see, because obviously, like, Logan is a character that, like, the only way you can end his story is with him dying. Like, after everything he'd been through in those stories. Whereas with Indiana Jones, it's like, does he need to die, or can you just kind of retire him and just make him just like the show? Like, basically, what's his name, Harrison Ford is like well past retirement age anyway, and he's going to be like 80 by the time. I think he's 77 now. So by the time this is made and shot and like actually been put into the world, chances are he's going to be minimum 79, 80 years of age.
Do you think every movie that comes to Harrison Ford about his old characters, his only feedback is just kill me,
just kill me?
And he was just like, "You want to bring you back?" And it's like, "Just kill me." It's like, as the Patriot, just kill me.
Yeah, I'll come back if you kill me.
Yeah, it's like, I'll bring you back if you kill me on screen.
Yeah.
I reckon they'll kill him and they'll do a really good out for him as well. So like, and I don't think this story is going to kind of be bullshitty in the same way that Lucas and Spielberg done it for the last as well, where he's still kind of like, yeah, he's old, but he's still doing these amazing stunts and these kind of acrobatics, and he's getting blown up by a nuke in a fridge. That movie was crazy. But yeah, like he's past all of that, and I reckon they will make it a little bit grittier, a little bit darker, and it's going to be like, I suppose, the same treasure hunt aspect, but just, you know, higher stakes and more realistic take on things, where he might be properly bloody, beaten and bruised and, you know, just about make it out of it in the end and then kind of die naturally. Like, again, I'm talking about a film we don't know anything about at the moment, but I'd love it to go that direction, to have a proper Logan-esque finish to this.
What I want to see is Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, either using a walker or in a wheelchair with one of those like knitted blankets over him, going like down the road beside like a Nazi truck or something, like he's in one of the old OGs Indiana Jones. Give him a wheelchair, put like an engine on it, and have him spinning down the road beside it with his old man blanket. And that's the way I want to see him go out, off the side of a cliff in his walker.
It's more believable than the nuke in the fridge anyway, so, you know, keep that standard up as well. I wonder, will they reference the aliens? That'd be great if they did.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, I wonder, will they just like pretend that one never existed?
It's such a giant part of the end of the film. Like, just regardless of anything else, like, I know the Holy Grail and all those other things that happen to it as well have a supernatural part to it. But he
aliens was ridiculous
at the end of this, you know, at the end of the fourth movie. So like, there has to be a part of that movie where he just keeps on coming back to like, there's fucking aliens in this movie.
That'll be his last line. Like, just before he dies, he'll be like, shit, you remember that time there was aliens here?
You think Mangold is going to try and write something grounded, but then every now and again he's just flashback with someone's like, who's talking about the continuity, and it's like, you're going to have to mention the aliens, Mangold.
Yeah.
I don't want to. And he's like, just say he was on like some sort of medication and it just didn't happen. You know?
Yeah, I remember that year you were high. You missed everything. You thought there was aliens. They could definitely get away with that with
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
giant stoner Harrison Ford. Anyway,
Lorcan, you're afraid of scary movies. This is true.
Am. Yeah,
we know this to be a fact. Did you watch The Invisible Man?
I started it, but I didn't finish it. It wasn't because I wasn't spooked. It was more,
you got too scared.
Watched it in the middle of the day, and it's a really dark movie. So I said, I'll wait to watch this at night, and I've never watched it since. But it's been...
That sounds like the excuse of someone who's a little scaredy cat.
That, like, again, it's been spoiled for me. Like a lot of these, I see a thumbnail or something along those lines, or someone like on a movie podcast I'll be listening to, someone will passively mention the ending, and I'm like, so like, is there a point to me watching this? Because the whole idea of it is it real, is it not? And then for someone to definitively tell you whether it's real or not kind of spoils the film, I feel. So yeah, I don't know if I'll even watch it anymore, but like, listen,
you should.
It looks good. Like, it looks like a good film.
Yeah. So the Invisible Man, that was the first of Universal's attempt at rebooting their kind of like monster characters, and kind of putting them into the, I guess, modern day kind of take on these characters, because obviously we knew that Universal were trying to have like their monster universe, like a shared cinematic universe with Tom Cruise in The Mummy.
And Johnny Depp was supposed to be the Invisible Man, wasn't he?
Johnny Depp was going to be the Invisible Man. Oof. What's his face? Russell Crowe was
Jacqueline Hyde.
Yeah. Oh god, that
Bride of Frankenstein was
so
Angelina Jolie. Like, that photo, that, like, the balls in them. They had one film in the can, balls in them to take that photo, and then immediately fail on like the very first film. That's actually hilarious.
And flop on the biggest scale possible.
Brilliant. That Mummy movie awful.
Oh, terrible. I didn't even watch it, but I know it was terrible from
Oh, I
everything I've heard.
watched it and it was not good. Not even way, just not good. And I like Cruise, but wow, that was bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
So what they've done now, what Universal are doing instead, is they're not going shared universe. They're not trying to make superheroes out of these monster characters. What they've done now is they've given them back to like Blumhouse and smaller studios that are kind of under their umbrella, and they're developing just standalone smaller takes on the characters, actual good character piece movies. So they've
nice.
done the Invisible Man, which they went the horror route with, and they had Elizabeth Moss. Blumhouse produced it. It was fantastic. It's a great movie, and that's exactly the way the monster universe, well, it shouldn't be a monster universe, but that's exactly the way you should treat these characters if you're bringing them
Mm,
into the modern day, not trying to make them superheroes because they're just not.
yeah.
So the next film reportedly in this universe, it came out this week, that Ryan Gosling, of all people, definitely didn't
Yeah.
expect this, but Ryan Gosling is supposedly signed on. I think it was Deadline that came out with this. He's supposedly signed on to play Wolfman in the Wolfman movie that they're working on. And it sounds like it seems like he actually brought the original take to Universal on the story, and
Yeah.
the film is going to be taken on what they think is kind of set in present times in the vein more of Jake Gyllenhaal's Nightcrawler. So that kind of thriller that we had in Nightcrawler, where he was that investigative reporter. So it seems
Yeah.
to be taken on like that kind of feeling and that kind of tone for this take on Wolfman, which is going to star Ryan Gosling. And if yours, this just sounds like this sounds great, and it kind of sounds like the kind of take you'd want to take. It's not even. I'd never think about like Nightcrawler when I'm thinking about Wolfman.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a
It's
really
just
interesting take.
like Gosling. I don't see him like I'm not saying he's typecast because he definitely has range as an actor, but he does play a specific type of character in a lot of different things. And like I can kind of see how this would fall in line with a Wolfman, but a Wolfman is kind of a villain. I think the whole way through it. I think he is like again, as far as I remember from those kind of old horror films as well. It's not a bad guy. It's when he transforms into like a werewolf
Mm,
murder people, but then I think as a person has to live with the guilt of it. So there's something good there, I suppose, if they go that direction. But like yeah, like it makes sense to me that he's brought this to someone because I can't imagine him being on a list of people that
mm.
was a studio would have in mind for this because I don't think he naturally fits inside of that, which is exciting, I suppose. And the Nightcrawler route kind of says to me that he's probably going to be a bit of a villain, I suppose, in this.
Yeah.
That's super interesting to see because I can't remember. I don't think there's been a film, has there, where he's a natural villain in anything. He's
Not really. He's always just been these kind of like dark, brooding characters that do
Yeah, like
terrible
he's
things.
gray. So like even in
Yeah.
movies with like Drive, like he's technically a villain, but he's not really. Same with Gangster Squad, I think as well. And even in The Nice Guys, he's like a private investigator, is he, or private detective? And he's not a good guy, but he's not bad
Mm.
either. So like it's just interesting, I suppose. I'd love to see him play a more, I suppose, rather than being on the fence gray type character. I'd like to see him play more evil. So it'd be yeah, just interesting, I suppose.
Yeah. And like we said, if this is the route they're kind of taking with these characters, lower budget films, less
Mm.
of a risk, but like really interesting risks that you do take to they have the characters come to life.
Mhm.
So yeah, this is kind of one that's kind of come out of nowhere and that I'm really excited to see because most of the time anything Ryan Gosling's in is at the very least interesting.
Mm.
Um, so taking this kind of a character and going that kind of route with it is great, and I love the fact that it's kind of something that he brought to the studio by the sounds of things, and
Yeah.
it's not just like, oh, we're going to make a new Wolfman movie and we're going to make a new this. It's like, oh, you're doing the monsters. I've got an idea, and he comes in, pitches it, and it kind of works. So it
Mm.
definitely doesn't sound anything like a studio based movie where they're like, here's an idea we have. It just
Yeah.
sounds like a good film. So I'm very excited to see this.
Yeah, me too. And I wonder will he try and like push on to be some sort of producer on this because he's come to them with this idea. I wonder is he going to take more of that type of role on it? So that'd be really interesting too. I'm not saying director, but like a more hands-on producer. So yeah,
Yeah, if he came in, that'd be cool to see for
interesting.
sure.
Interesting.
Lorcan, over the last couple of weeks,
Yep.
the Last Dance on Netflix,
Ah.
The Michael Jordan series, people have been in love with it, including
Mm.
us. I love that series.
Ah,
It's so
excellent.
great. Yeah,
Excellent.
so great.
Mm.
So just announced this week that ESPN obviously created this and produced it,
Mhm.
and then because it wasn't even meant to come out, I think, until September on ESPN,
Mhm.
but with the lockdown and everything, Netflix kind of started working with them and ended up coming out on Netflix
Mhm.
early. But now ESPN's follow-up series to this is going to be looking at another GOAT,
Mhm.
and it's going to be following the career of Tom Brady.
Interesting.
and they're going to be called, it's going to be called Man in the Arena. I think it's
Mm.
going to be 9 episodes. And from what I know now, let's just get this on the table. We're both Irish. I know very little about American football.
I know a little bit about Tom Brady and the Patriots, though.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Um,
like basketball. Jordan and the Bulls. I know about Tom Brady and the Patriots to a degree.
yeah.
You know. Yeah.
So it sounds like they're going to have 9 episodes. Each episode, I'm assuming, is going to be focused on each one of
Mhm.
the Super Bowl years, because I'm pretty sure he was at 9 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I think he's won
Um,
9 Super Bowl. Like he's won an incredible amount, anyways. Maybe not 9, but yeah.
Yeah, I think he's been to 9. I don't know if I don't think he's won 9.
Mm.
Someone will shout at us anyway in the comments or whatever. But yeah, after watching The Last Dance, man, I
Yeah.
can't wait to watch another ESPN. Like, I know the thing that comes with these obviously is that, like,
Mm.
Jordan's production company was behind The Last
Yeah.
Dance as well, and Tom Brady's production company now, his new one, supposedly is going to be funding this as well and kind of part of the project. So
Yeah.
they're obviously biased to a degree to stories,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that they're not still really interesting to watch, considering how many other people they have involved in
Mm.
giving their opinions and stuff on it. So I'm looking forward to seeing this, and I to be honest, I love these stories. We just get an in-depth look at the
Yeah.
career of someone and kind of going through the history books as well, and kind of just learning more about that. So I really can't wait for this.
So there's like two things there as well. So like with the Jordan documentary as well, I think the reason why it worked really well was because there was back in 1998, they basically they give access to the press, like an unprecedented amount of access to shoot that documentary and capture everything about that particular season. So they have lots of archive footage of all that as well that I don't think necessarily they'll have with the Patriots for certain parts. But the thing about this, and again, I really hope they're not going to like. I thought Jordan's crew done a really good idea of trying to be even slightly biased. So just not ignoring certain things. So like they didn't ignore the gambling by Jordan or the fact that potentially, he was kicked out of the NBA for that year for gambling as well. Like, that's always the story as well. And that type of thing. So like they didn't really shy away from that much. They did set up a different narrative to try and help the tone of that. I'm not saying neither are right or wrong or whatever, but they didn't shy away and just forget to talk about it. So like Tom Brady and the Patriots have a lot of kind of, for being at the top for so long, there's a lot of things there to kind of talk about that I hope they don't shy away from. So a couple of years ago, they had that Deflategate where
Yeah,
it's in footballs that were deflated as well, and that helped them to get along to a championship. And they got sued for it and they got banned for it afterwards as well. But they won a championship off the back of cheating essentially. And then there's rumors about Tom Brady, especially in the last couple of seasons, with kind of drug activity as well to keep him at the top of his game. But then of course there's the really big story with Aaron Hernandez and the Patriots. So there's a doc that came out on Netflix about a year ago now, or a couple of months ago, talking about Aaron Hernandez, which he was a young footballer as well who ended up killing someone and then killed himself in prison. But he played with the Patriots at the time when he was being arrested for the murders, or when the second murder or first murder, I can't remember what it was, took place. And Tom Brady had a big kind of part to play in like essentially getting him kicked off the team before anything happened, and then essentially scrubbing the record clean to say that they had no involvement with him and really kind of pushing that to a side. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of happens on screen. And then one other thing as well, like you mentioned, so it's really interesting to get these documentaries about these giant sports stars. And, my favorite drug cheating sports star actually has a documentary on ESPN right now that's going on, and it's about Lance Armstrong. And it's really good, and it's the same sort of format as what they're going to do with the Tom Brady one. So it's essentially 30 for 30. So it's a 30-minute documentary done in 6 parts about their career as well. And I think the first 2 episodes have aired now for the Lance Armstrong one, and it's really good. And again, Lance being Lance is kind of very abrasive about what he done in terms of his drug taking, and he's not afraid to color himself as the bad guy, because I think he's gone beyond it now and he kind of revels in it a little bit. And I think
yeah.
it's been really entertaining, and they haven't shied away from anything altogether, which makes me think that this Tom Brady and Patriots one will hopefully do this. So it could be interesting. So I suppose that's a random recommendation for yourself ahead of time now, that if you're looking for that kind of super athlete in the same vein as your kind of your Jordans and Tom Brady's, Lance Armstrong fits in there too, and his documentary is super interesting. So
What did you say? That's part of ESPN's 30 for 30 series,
I
right?
think it's like a 30 for 30 series, yeah. So it's 30-minute documentary, and there's 6 of them, I think. So I think it's
Okay.
similar to the style that they're going to do with the Tom Brady one. Again, so those kind of 30 or 40-minute shorts broke into 6 parts, looking at the overall career. So
Well, like that, the 30 for 30 series, like ESPN have been running them for years, so maybe that
yeah.
Lance Armstrong thing is just a segment on that.
Oh,
But yeah,
sorry.
geez, I didn't
I
even know
don't
about
think
that.
30 for 30 is the right word for it, because it's a multi-part series, and Lance is very much promoting it in the same way that The Last Dance was done. So I think it's probably different to the 30 for 30, but 30 for 30 sticks in my mind for some reason. So it's probably like a different series that was done before. But they like,
Okay, well, I was gonna say because
brand
that
new.
if that,
Mhm.
so it's not a 30 for 30 series you're talking about. It's
No,
just a separate Lance Armstrong documentary.
yeah, it's separate.
Do you
It's
know what it's
done in
called?
different parts. I'm gonna look it up now for you. I think it.
There we go.
Yeah. Do.
While you're talking about that, we can. Another show that we've heard is officially happening now, and this is a very different take than stuff that we'd usually talk about. But because it's about someone that we love, John Krasinski, we mentioned I think on the show a while ago about his YouTube series, the Some Good News series that he started during lockdown and during the quarantine, which has just been it's been a great little YouTube series that he's been doing. But he has, now that he's kind of going to be going back to work and not have the time to shoot it and run it himself, he has sold the rights to it to CBS. So CBS are going to be doing an official Some Good News series. I don't know if it's going to be part of CBS News or if it's going to be its own kind of standalone show on the CBS News channel. But it's great that the series has been kind of picked up and going to continue, because like it just means like a good kind of a happy good news story is going to keep going. Or good news series, should I say, is going to keep going.
Yeah.
Krasinski said he's going to be in and out. He's not going to be on every episode, but he's going to be in and out where he can. And it'll be interesting to see who they get to host it now, because I think a huge part of what was great about the Some Good News was the complete home nature of it, and the fact that it was
Yeah.
Krasinski just kind of having the crack while he was doing it.
Yeah, this is a
So it'll be
weird
interesting to see
choice.
how they do it.
Like I saw there was giant uproar about this actually when I first heard about it, where it was purchased by CBS and was brought on, and I think people were very angry that Kaczynski sold the idea and now it's become quote unquote corporate. And
Yeah.
I was very much of the opinion that like this isn't a new idea or a new concept, and like I think the best thing about it was the nature in which John Krasinski done it. So it seems like a weird move by CBS rather than by Krasinski. Like certainly Krasinski would be just like, yeah, why not sell this property that I've done, like for this as well. But to your point, like, yeah, it'd be interesting to see who they bring on and who to get to kind of host this as well, because I feel now because it's gone to a CBS and it doesn't have that same natural, I don't know, the YouTube feel about things. I think it'll drop off and it won't be as successful moving forward. I think the day of it being big is kind of over now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the uproar of it from people online that are like, oh, you can't sell the rights. Like Some Good News is our stuff, and it's like it's popular because of all of us sending you videos. It's like, shut up, will you?
Yeah,
Like, what are you talking about? The dude was having a bit of fun online trying to make everyone's day better. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, studios got involved and want to keep it going. Regardless of whether he sold it or not, he's not going to keep doing it because he has to go back to work.
Yeah,
he's going to go back to his job and he's going to go back to shooting actual movies and shows
he's got
that
to
he's
be
working on.
Mr. Fantastic. So
Exactly. He's going to start being in the MCU soon.
yeah.
So, like, he's no time to be sitting at home in his underwear and a shirt making this Some Good News series.
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, I can't do it anymore. Why not? And let's not even lie. If someone else just randomly picked it up on YouTube, no one's going to watch it.
Yeah,
because
totally.
the whole point of it was he done it. It was popular. They enjoyed it. So he's
I
like,
also
look,
think it's a product of the time as well. Like I think it became big because of the coronavirus and because people were looking for good news as well. Like I think a year down the line, that show is still not doing the numbers that it would have done previous. So
definitely not.
Super smart move by Krasinski to sell it on. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think its day in the sun is there, and why not cash in on it? So
exactly, and he's got. I supposedly it was like a big bidding war between companies, so I'm sure he made a hefty bit of cash out of it for a YouTube series over a couple of weeks. Like that's good business, you know.
It's all good. I'm happy with it. Fair play to him.
Awesome. The only thing in gaming news was there was another video on The Last of Us 2 released another gameplay video, but it really just showed more of what we kind of seen, and it went into like minor story details. But to be honest, I actually don't even nearly want to talk about it because I just want to enjoy the series when we get into it. Yeah. But yeah, if you are interested in Last of Us 2 and you want to find out more, there is that extra gameplay video. It just, like I said, tells a little bit about the story. just still doesn't show anything really about Joel or what he's doing. It's kind of more looking at Ellie's story,
Mm.
and it's just more of what we've seen in a little bit more detail. So, did you take anything else from it that you want to talk about?
No, not really. Like again, similar to the last one as well. I didn't even try to watch too much of it because, like yourself, I feel like if I watch too much, I'll be desensitized to it when it comes because I see the locations and I don't want to know too much more about them because I do this with games sometimes where I watch a lot of the gameplay trailers to a point that when I actually play the game, I'm more reminiscent about, oh yeah, I can remember seeing this on video and what I thought it was rather than experiencing the moment. So like again, I feel like I've seen everything that I'd like to see in this. The only thing that really stood out to me was Ellie can now swing on ropes in the same way that do it in Uncharted 4. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool thing. And I kind of hope that's a good mechanic that they bring forward because that was one of the better parts of Uncharted 4 was when you're doing those stealth sections, there was the chance to swing on the rope to catch someone off. And I don't know, it just felt like a really cool mechanic. So that was the only thing that really stuck out to me, to be honest.
Yeah. And obviously, The Last of Us 2 is out next month, I think on the 19th of June.
Yep.
So we'll be talking about that in so much depth when we get to there. So we'll hold off on until we get to there. But yeah, to finish up, we'll go through some random recommendations. And speaking of documentaries, I actually have a quick one before you jump in at yours. So what WWE have released now is in the exact same vein as The Last Dance. They've released The Last Ride, which is The Undertaker.
Nice.
And it's a documentary series. I don't know if it's on the WWE network or what
Probably,
series it's coming out on. But it's on episode 3, I think, or episode 4 is coming out this week. But it's following the kind of end of Undertaker's career. It's really, really interesting for anyone interested in WWE because it's all behind the scenes, and it's the first time so his actual name is Mark Calloway. It's the first time he's actually allowed cameras to follow him around and see him kind of out of character and behind the scenes. And just seeing like we've seen an awful lot of documentaries in recent years of wrestlers with their character off, like them just talking behind the scenes, chatting to people. But this really follows him around, and shows them all how friendly they are behind the scenes. Cool. Talks about some of the things that could have happened, but it shows how he went because basically he got to a time where he was only coming back for the WrestleManias each year to kind of keep that streak going that he had. And he talks about the Lesnar WrestleMania, the one that broke the streak.
He lost, yeah.
And it's crazy because I think it's the Lesnar fight where he's basically like, I got concussed in the fight, and he was like, I don't remember that match at all.
Mad.
Like he watches tapes back and he does not remember anything from the match. And that's the match where there's wild speculation on the fact that was it planned that he lost, or did Brock Lesnar just say, fuck it, I'm going to beat the shit out of him and I'm going to break the streak? Because even what's his name, Paul Heyman's got a great clip if you look it up where he's given a talk. And he says, there's no one else in the business that would have had the balls to make that decision themselves. But Brock Lesnar's the kind of guy that would just switch a flip, or just make a switch and just decide, you know what? Doesn't matter what the company want, I'm going to break the streak tonight. Because he's an absolute monster. He could kill anyone he wanted to.
Well, he's a legit, fighter. Like, do you ever see him in the UFC when he's just walking out of the cage and he barrels towards people? It is terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying.
So it doesn't really go into that much, but it's going through how he had his final fight, his retirement one, and then how he watched that back and he wasn't happy with it, and then he got some surgery done, he felt much better, and then he came back for another WrestleMania, and that's kind of where I am now. But it's so interesting seeing the behind the scenes of it and what goes into it, and how these wrestlers comprehend what they put themselves through. Because it's not you go out and let's fake whatever, but they're still putting their bodies through torture. Especially guys like The Undertaker that have been involved in it for 30 years. Their bodies have gone through so much.
Does it start at the beginning? So does it really look back at when he started and does it or is it kind of WrestleMania by WrestleMania as well? Because
it's WrestleMania by WrestleMania, but it's bits and pieces it flashes back, but it doesn't it doesn't go in as much depth, we'll say, as The Last Dance did when it go back. It's more it's talking about the current WrestleMania, and it'll have a few little flashbacks. It'll talk about how he's so friendly with Vince, or how his relationship with this person started. But
again, if you look back at the WWE, there's obviously stars like The Rock and Hulk Hogan, and, those ones like that. But The Undertaker is by far the biggest star in that sport, in my opinion, and the most iconic. I think is the right word for it as well. And the transition he's gone through, the streak being won, being involved in probably the most iconic WWE WWF match of all time with Mick Foley doing the Hell in the Cell.
Mm.
How iconic that was. His strange character, the kind of sets they used to do with him, like where they team him up with Kane and the weird backstories, and then they transitioned him to American Badass when
Yeah.
that kind of phase where he was the motorcycling guy till he came back again. Like it's like that whole transition. Like he spanned, I think, 3 decades in the WWE, or it was potentially even 4 actually by the time he.
No, it's because his 1990 was his first official match.
1990, yeah. So he would
Yeah.
have done the 1990, the 2000s, and 2010. So he would have
Yeah.
done 3 decades, and I doubt he's still doing anything more. Maybe he might do a cameo in the upcoming WrestleMania, maybe for this year to get his 4th decade across 4 decades. But like iconic, like.
Yeah, absolutely, and it really is a great series. So I can't recommend it enough if you're interested in
Mhm.
WWE, or even if you used to be like, if you grew up like with the Attitude Era, or if you grew up in the '90s watching wrestling. It's
Yeah.
a really, really interesting take. So I'd highly recommend checking it out.
Cool. I have a random recommendation, one that you might like, maybe, depending. It's on Netflix. It's a French film and it's an animated film. So don't know if you like it. And before you kind of give out to me about being super pretentious, it's actually really not, and it's a really good story, and it's super short. It's called I Lost My Body. I'm sure you've probably seen it. I think it got nominated. I don't think it got the Oscar, but it got nominated last year for Best Animation. And the story's
For short film?
interesting. Sorry?
For short film?
No, for animation, best animation. And then I think it might have got nominated for best foreign language, but obviously lost out to Parasite on that.
Yep.
Excellent film about this kind of young French guy. And they talk about his life story, but it's a weird kind of angle to it too, that you follow his hand around. So something happens to this guy, and his hand basically was in a cold storage of a fridge in like whatever, a medical center or something along those lines, and the hand escapes and tries to find its way back to its body. And you kind of slowly piece what happened to this guy from his past, and it's a whole story, and it's really nice, and it's kind of like a love story as well. Like it's really strange, but the animation is like amazing. The soundtrack's amazing, and the story's actually really kind of good. Like I really liked it, and it's not in French. Although I hear it's best to watch it in French and have your subtitles, but I'm not that pretentious, so I watched the dub version of it as well. And
Man, it's so much easier to
really good.
watch like a movie with subtitles. I don't know how. I hate watching dub movies now.
It's
Hate it.
it's different. So it's like if you're watching dubbed with like actual people and it's live action, I'll 100% watch subtitles all day of the year. But if it's animated, I don't really notice it, and most people don't really notice it because the animation
Okay.
style in this, it's not as if the mouth kind of correlates with the saying anyway, and it's not
Okay.
focused on the mouths all that often either, so it's not really noticeable at all. And if you have subtitles for an animated film like this, you're kind of missing out on the overall visual of the movie. So like,
Yeah, I get you.
and I'm subs over dubs for everything bar animated, and I'll just animate it with dubs all day long. But it's definitely like a good watch. I don't know if it's your cup of tea, but if you put on a trailer and you're like, this seems kind of cool, it's definitely worth a watch. I think it's a brisk sort of like maybe hour and 15 minutes, and it's just pretty kind of hell for leather story, so it's good.
Yeah, cool. Might give it a try. So, but yeah, that's it for another week, I think.
This is us done.
Sweet. Well, yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button. Share it around if you know anybody else. Like, obviously, we're really only getting kicked off on YouTube, so, and it's just a podcast, so not going to be going anywhere popular anytime soon. But if you do know anyone that might be interested, give it a share around, or tell your friends about it, or whatever.
Yeah.
Give us a subscribe or follow us on Instagram. Share it around on Instagram. We're still posting on Facebook and Twitter, but we literally don't do anything apart from just retweet or repost whatever we do on Instagram. So follow us on Instagram. Check us out there, and enjoy the fact that some of the quarantine regulations are being lifted in some countries. Hopefully they're slowly being lifted wherever you are as well, and you can start living life a little bit more. But stay safe and continue washing your goddamn hands.
Yeah, just wash your hands. If you don't do anything at all, just wash your hands.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's it for us. That's it for us this weekend. And we'll see you. What a bad outro. We'll see you next week.
All right, bye, Jamie. See ya.